Hi, dear listeners. Welcome to our podcast. Today, we'll talk about something exciting traveling to the moon. My name is Emma, and I'm here with John.
Hi, everyone. We'll use simple English so you can learn while we talk. Remember, this podcast will help you improve your English by listening, speaking, reading, and writing. So, let's start our journey to the moon. What is the moon?
The moon is Earth's closest neighbor in space. It is a big round object that you can sometimes see in the night sky. People have always been curious about the moon because it looks different from Earth. It has craters, mountains, and valleys, and it doesn't have air like we do.
Emma, how far is the moon from Earth?
John, the moon is about 384,400 kilometers away from Earth. It may sound very far, but with today's technology, astronauts can travel to the moon in just a few days. In the past, it took a lot longer, but now space travel is faster and safer. John, who was the first person to travel to the moon?
The first person to walk on the moon was Neil Armstrong. He went there on a mission called Apollo 11 in 1969. When he stepped on the moon, he said the famous words, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind."
How do people travel to the moon?
To travel to the moon, astronauts use special rockets. These rockets take them into space. Once they are in space, they have to leave Earth's atmosphere and then make their way to the moon. The journey takes a few days, but astronauts have to be well prepared for it.
What do astronauts wear on the moon?
Astronauts wear space suits when they are on the moon. These suits help them breathe because there is no air on the moon. The suits also protect them from the sun's heat and keep them warm because it can be very cold on the moon. Emma, what do astronauts eat in space?
Astronauts eat special food that is packed for space travel. The food is often dried or in small packages, so it doesn't take up too much space. They also drink water that is purified. They need to make sure they have enough food for the entire trip.
Can anyone travel to the moon?
Right now, only astronauts can travel to the moon. But in the future, many companies want to make it possible for regular people to visit the moon. It would be very expensive, but one day, space tourism might be a reality for everyone.
Why do people want to go to the moon?
People want to go to the moon to learn more about space. The moon is full of mysteries, and studying it helps us understand more about our universe. Scientists also think that one day we might live on the moon or use it as a base to explore other planets.
What do astronauts do on the moon?
When astronauts are on the moon, they explore the surface and collect rocks. These rocks are brought back to Earth so scientists can study them. Astronauts also set up equipment to learn more about the moon's surface and weather. John, how long do astronauts stay on the moon?
Astronauts usually stay on the moon for a few days. They have to plan their trip carefully, as they need to bring enough oxygen, food, and water. Staying on the moon is not easy because it is a very harsh environment.
How do astronauts get back to Earth from the moon?
After they finish their mission, astronauts use a spacecraft to return to Earth. They take off from the moon, travel through space, and then re-enter Earth's atmosphere. The spacecraft has to be strong enough to handle the heat when it comes back.
What is gravity like on the moon?
The moon has less gravity than Earth. That means things are much lighter on the moon. For example, if you weigh 60 kilograms on Earth, you would weigh only about 10 kilograms on the moon. This is why astronauts can jump high on the moon.
What would it be like to live on the moon?
Living on the moon would be very different from living on Earth. There is no air, water, or plants on the moon. People would have to live in special buildings that protect them from the moon's extreme temperatures and lack of oxygen. Is there water on the moon?
Scientists have found small amounts of water on the moon, but not like the oceans or lakes we have on Earth. Most of the water is frozen, and it's found in the moon's shadows. This water could be used by astronauts in the future.
Can we see the moon from Earth every night?
Yes, we can see the moon from Earth most nights, but it looks different every day. Sometimes the moon is full, and sometimes we only see a small part of it. This is because of how the moon moves around the Earth and how the sun shines on it.
What is the dark side of the moon?
The dark side of the moon is the part that we never see from Earth. The moon rotates in such a way that one side is always facing us, while the other side is hidden. Astronauts have flown around the moon and seen this dark side.
Can we see stars from the moon?
Yes, astronauts can see stars from the moon, but the sky looks different because there is no atmosphere. On Earth, the air makes the sky blue during the day and dark at night, but on the moon, the sky is always black and the stars are always visible.
How cold is the moon?
The temperature on the moon can be very extreme. During the day, it can be as hot as 127 degrees Celsius, but at night, it can drop to minus 173 degrees Celsius. This is why astronauts need special suits to protect them from these temperatures. Does the moon affect Earth?
Yes, the moon affects Earth's tides. The moon's gravity pulls on Earth's oceans, causing high and low tides. This is why we see the ocean water rise and fall every day. The moon plays an important role in Earth's natural systems.
Can we build a base on the moon?
Scientists are thinking about building a base on the moon in the future. This base could help astronauts live and work on the moon for longer periods. It would be an important step for exploring deeper into space, like Mars or other planets.
What would it feel like to walk on the moon?
Walking on the moon would feel very different from walking on Earth because of the low gravity. You would feel light and could jump high. Astronauts often describe it as bouncing. They have to move slowly and carefully to avoid falling.
Are there volcanoes on the moon?
The moon had volcanoes a long time ago, but they are no longer active. The surface of the moon has many craters, which were made by asteroids hitting it. These craters make the moon look rough and bumpy when we see it from Earth.
Can we use the moon's resources?
Emma, scientists are looking at ways to use the moon's resources, like its minerals and frozen water. If we can use these resources, it would make it easier for astronauts to stay on the moon for longer missions. It could also help with space exploration.
How does the moon help scientists understand space?
The moon helps scientists learn about space because it is easier to study than other planets. By exploring the moon, scientists can test new technologies and understand more about the solar system. The moon is like a stepping stone for future space exploration.
Why is the moon important for space exploration?
The moon is important because it's the first place humans have traveled to outside of Earth. It helps scientists prepare for future missions to places like Mars. The moon is also a good place to test new equipment and technology for space travel.
Can we see the moon during the day?
Yes, sometimes we can see the moon during the day. It depends on where the moon is in its orbit around the Earth. The moon reflects light from the sun, so even during the day, you might see it shining in the sky.
How long does it take for the moon to go around the Earth?
It takes about 27 days for the moon to travel around the Earth. This is called the moon's orbit. As the moon orbits, we see different parts of it, which is why the shape of the moon seems to change every night.
What are moon phases?
Moon phases are the different shapes of the moon we see from Earth. Sometimes the moon looks like a full circle, and other times it looks like a thin crescent. These phases happen because of how the sun lights up the moon as it moves around Earth.
Can we use the moon to help us travel to other planets?
Emma, yes, the moon could be a stopping point for missions to other planets. Scientists think we could build a base on the moon where astronauts can stay before traveling farther into space. It would help save fuel and make space travel easier.
That's all for today. Everyone, we hope you enjoyed learning about traveling to the moon. Remember, listening to these podcasts helps improve your English. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.